Hi, this is Laura from Scrappy Mania, and today I want to show you a layout that I created, a double spread layout. Unfortunately, my video process was not recording because I ran out of storage or memory on my iPad, so it didn't record the whole session. So I just want to give you exactly what I did, just kind of give you an overview, show you the layout, and on some of the technique that I use. Now, one of it was a challenge that I imposed on myself because I have this once upon a time 8x8 stack, and I really don't use a lot of 8x8 stack. If you've seen my videos, you notice that I use more 12x12 than the smaller paper pad. But I had this paper pad, was in my stash for a while. I have used some of the papers from it, but I really haven't used everything how I would like to have. So I challenged myself to use the paper in this 8x8. Plus, I do have a mat stack. So I also bought the coordinating mat stack for this paper line. So I challenged myself to use the stack mat for layers, use the 8x8 to create layers on my layout, and not really cut them down. So, let me show you the layout that I created using that technique. So here, this is the layout. If you notice in here, right here, this is a paper mat, a paper stack, or mat stack. This is a mat stack. It's basically, I just took the mat stack and put it underneath my 8x8, and then this is an 8x8 right here. So I lay my 8x8 there. I put a mat stack here, and then I took another mat stack, and I used this die that I purchased at Tuesday Morning, and it says Moments. So I took this die, I placed it on top of my mat stack, right side up, like so. And then you just pass it through your Scrapbook machine, and that's what created that saying that says Moments. Now, a tip that I want to give you about these dies, I do not have the magnetic tray. You really don't need the magnetic tray for this. What you need to do is you can place it down and then put your plates together, and you may have to put a shim through it in order to get it go through. But you don't really need to purchase the tray if you don't have it. So it works fine like it is. Like I said, I don't have the tray, and it worked very well. I just had to put an extra cardstock for shimming, and it worked. So then that's what I did. So it was something, it looked something like this. So I did something like this. Okay? Just to create that color block kind of feel. Then I took one of my mat stacks that I had, and I cut it had a little design on the side, so I just cut that down and placed it together here. And these are two pieces, so this is one piece, this is another piece, but when you put them together and then you lay an element on top, you don't see where it's joined. Then I also went ahead, and for this technique, I wanted to die cut something that said a saying or word, but I wanted to have it be cursive. I really didn't want to pull out my Cricut and well and all that stuff. So what I did is I took a paper, and let's say I want to write the word ever. So I will just, as best as I can, I will write ever like that. Then you take your scissors, and when you cut, what you want to do is you want to leave a little bit of a gap, or a little bit of, instead of cutting right where the line is, see, notice I cut a little outside the line, like this, like so. And then when you're ready to do the other side, so I'm not going to do the whole piece, but when you're ready to do the other side, when you cut, you're going to cut, and you can use a craft knife if you feel more comfortable with craft knife. I use my scissors and then use the craft knife for the little tiny pieces. Like for the inside of the E. And see, you cut something like that. And then you see the pencil marks, and you're probably thinking, well, how do I erase that pencil mark? Because if I try to erase the pencil mark on this piece, see, it's delicate. So if I try to erase it, I'm more than likely going to tear my word apart. So what I did is I took some glitter glue and just put a nice glob on top. You put a nice glob of glitter glue throughout the whole thing, and you set it aside to dry. And you can use regular glue. So if I can use this regular glue, put a nice glob of a thick glue. Now this is not as thick as I like it to be, but you can get like a real thick glue. Put a nice glob of that thick glue there. Sprinkle some chunky glitter or even fine glitter on there and let it dry. And then that's what you get. You get a perfect little title with your handwriting, and it just looks fabulous. You don't need to have a die cutter machine or anything. You can do the same thing with fonts from your computer. If you take and print a saying or a big title, run it through nice sturdy copier paper or even cardstock. You can have a 8.5 by 11. Just run it through your printer, print your title, and then you cut it out. And I would change the color on, you know how you can change the color of your font in Word? I would change the color of my font to like gray or very light color. So that way you won't see it against the glitter. But if you're using a dark glitter or if you're using real thick glue, it doesn't really matter. So then you just print it, cut it out like I showed you how to cut it out. Put a little bit of glitter glue on top, and there you have a perfect little title. So that's how I did that, and I put perfect moments. I put this little epoxy sticker. And another challenge that I imposed on myself is I have tons of these stickers. I have a whole big box full of embellishments and stickers that I have purchased. I go to a store, I see it on discount, and I say, oh, they look so cute. Let me just buy it. I don't have any layout in mind or anything. Well, I buy it, I put it away in my box, and I forget about it. And 5 years later, it's still in the box, in the same package. I haven't even used one of those embellishments. So I decided, I challenged myself to use the embellishment in this layout. So that's what I did. This was something that I had forever in my stash. And then these butterflies were also there for a while in my stash. And then here's another sticker. And then this one, if you look at this tag, was something that I showed you how to create with just a stamp, your Dremel, if you have a Dremel, and you carve by a carving tip. It's not too expensive. The carving tip that I bought for my Dremel was about $3. And you can do what I did here. You use your Dremel and then you just carve out certain areas of your stamped image. And for the word, I just stamped happiness. And what I did is, instead of using black for my word, I used this distressing ink, old paper. So you were able to see the shadow of the word, but not it was not real dark. So that way when I went over it, it was easier for me to kind of carve it out. And even if I didn't do the carving as perfect, since it was not black, you wouldn't see the imperfection. More than likely, you know, I didn't really carve some of these words completely out, but hey, it didn't matter because I use a real light ink and you can't see any mistakes that I have done if I did, you know, if I did any mistakes. And then I used some color markers to color in my little birdie. And see, you got a unique little embellishment, one of a kind. You created it. You cannot buy this embellishment at the store or anywhere. And it's just, and you actually are reusing some of your stamps for other uses. Other than just stamping on paper, you stamped it on wood and you carved it out. So that's what I did there. And then the other thing that I did is, because I have Polaroids here, these are what I did is I took a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, cut it in half, folded the 4 1/4 by 5.5. So half of that sheet was 4 1/4 by 5.5. I fold that in half, and then I just positioned my photo inside that card that I created, and then created the window. And the idea why I did Polaroids instead of just matting my picture and putting it there, because on my second page, I have an old Polaroid from, that was part of all these pictures. There was an old Polaroid. So, and I felt like the Polaroid will feel like on its own. If I would have had matted my pictures, then my Polaroid felt, to me, it felt out of place. There was not any repeating Polaroid or element to kind of bring this into the layout, to make it look like it's part of the layout. So my solution for that was to create Polaroids out of my pictures, like I did there. And and I did the same thing. I took two. So this one here is actually two paper mats like that, and one 8 by 8 like that. So I'm using the whole sheet because that's what I wanted. I wanted to get rid of those sheets, so I'm using it for the layout. And plus it gives it a little more sturdiness, because you're putting layers upon layers. It makes your card very thick. So look how thick this is. It's very sturdy. And then I backed it out. I backed it on another piece of cardstock because I wanted to make this layout a little interesting. When I started building it, it just felt like it needed a frame. To me, it was just needing something. Without the frame, if you looked without the frame, it just looked a little plain. It just needed something. So then that's why I decided to put the frame. And look how different it looks when you put the frame on. It just looks a lot nicer. So I wanted a frame, but yeah, I didn't want to repeat the same thing that I usually repeat. I put this in the middle, and I leave a little frame on each 4 sides. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to give it a little frame, but I didn't really, I wanted to make it a little more interesting than just framing all 4 corners. I just wanted to frame the top corner and the side corner. And so that's what I did. I laid this on top of my my cardstock, and then after I glued it, I went ahead and trimmed off the excess on each side to make it a perfect 12 by 12. I did the same thing over here, and this time I did the top left, and then this one I did the top right. So when I put it together in my album, you see the frame go around my layout to the side here. Okay, so that was the rationale behind putting the Polaroids, was because I already had a Polaroid, and also why I framed only 2 sides of my layout on both of my page, because I wanted it a little more interesting. And then I still felt that it was a little plain when I put it together, so then I decided to use a stitching stamp that I have, and I did stamp it in all 4 corners. Because I guess I could have not stamped the middle part, but I decided to stamp all 4 corners. So you can also do the same layout, but instead of stamping the middle part, you can leave it unstamped with the stitching, because then it will look like it's a whole, the stitching goes around this whole piece. So then it looks like a whole piece. But I do like the stitching in the middle, so that's why I did that. And the other thing that I did on this is, because I have washi tape here, so I did do a scallop edge. So this was the first page that I assembled. I put a scallop edge, and then I put a washi tape on the side. So when I did my second piece, I did not want to repeat the scallop edge, because I already had a design element that kind of looks a little bit like scallop when I did put this strip over here with this rope image like you see there. So I really didn't want to repeat that. However, I wanted to repeat the washi tape, because a good design would be to have one element. If you use one element in one side of the page, you want to repeat that at least twice, especially if it's a 2-page layout. You want to bring some of those same elements that you have in this page over to your second page, so that way it looks like it goes together. It coordinates together. Then it doesn't look like I created this one on its own and this one on its own. And then that's okay. If you want to do that, you know, there are people out there that like to create individual pages, and all their pages are unique in an album. I tend to like to create double spreads. So I like my pages to kind of feel like they go together in the album. So, and I like to do them in this long format. So that's why I repeated the washi tape here on and also on the other side. Now, the last little bit that I see that I need in this page is because the Polaroid is very white here, right? And then I did cover these with pattern paper. I do want to, this is an original, I don't want to damage the original. So what I did is I created this little Polaroid cover, and I'm going to place that on top here. And let me cut this so that way it's not in the way. So I am going to place this in top, and what I'm going to use is some mini glue dots. So that way I preserve the Polaroid, because I didn't want to really cut the picture out of that Polaroid or damage the Polaroid. So I want to preserve it. It's an original. So I'm just going to put some glue dots on this little frame that I created. And I'm going to put a little glue dot in the middle, in the center here, and a little one in the center here. And then I'm just going to bring it in a little bit, because it does come out just a tiny bit. So I'm going to bring it in. And carefully I'm going to lay this down. Hopefully my measurements are correct. So I'm dressing up the Polaroid, as you can see here. Just so it doesn't kind of jump off the page as much. So there. So quick, easy tip on how to kind of dress up a Polaroid so it will be part, if you don't like the whiteness of the Polaroid against your layout, and but you still want to use it and not cut the picture out, because I think if you cut the picture out of a Polaroid, it was just going to disintegrate. You can't really do it. So you have to keep the Polaroid intact. You can do that. Just frame it out with another coordinating piece of cardstock. And there you have it. So now it goes all nice together. So there's my layout. So I hope you liked the tutorial. I hope I gave you some ideas about doing your own fonts, using your own handwriting, glitter glue, and your scissors. Don't need to have any die cut machine or anything like that to create these titles. Also think about using your computer to do the same thing. And don't need to buy a die cut machine. Use your computer. It will work just as well. And then here, I gave you ideas about the stamping. I'll put the link on how to create these wood tags and title areas. They're very easy to do. And then there you have my double spread layout. So I hope you liked this video, and thank you for watching. Bye now.